See you all right. Thank you. Yeah, good morning. Okay. Oh, good. I see the resemblance there. Yeah. Yes, right. Isn't this a beautiful setup you've got here? Thank you. And you've been in business for almost 20 years? 20 years, eh? Cool. For the folks employed. Yeah. We got an announcement today that's going to hopefully help out with that. Yeah.
So it's with great pride and pleasure I introduce our leader, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Jack Layton.
Thank you so much for being here to the Turdu family, father and son. It's a real honor to be in a place where you do such good work, such high quality work. And before we begin, though, I do want to acknowledge that just a few hours from now, down the Highway of Heroes, we'll be passing the body of our fallen soldier, Corporal Yannick Schurer of the Bandus. I just want to acknowledge that important moment in the life of our country, and to recognize the dedicated service of those serving for in our military, both serving today and those who've given the ultimate sacrifice as well. I am thrilled to be here with Chris Buckley, the next Member of Parliament from Oshawa. I have to tell you, I can't wait till he stands up in the House of Commons and starts giving them what for around the key issues, because he has stood with the working people of Oshawa through thick and thin, and has provided leadership, and whether it's at the negotiating table in those tough discussions, or whether it's when you have to stand outside the workplace and call for justice for working people when your pensions and your jobs are being threatened, you have always been able to count on Chris Buckley. And as a member of our caucus in the House of Commons, he will do a bang-up job to make sure that working families come first. Thank you, Chris, for being on campaign. And I'll remind you all that in the last election, Conservatives placed just behind the Harper Conservatives here in Oshawa. And I think Mike Shields is in the room. He was outside, and I want to acknowledge his presence and support once again. And I know that people know that in this community, the way to defeat Harper Conservatives is to vote New Democrat. It's crystal clear. Right here in the Minister of Finance's own backyard, we can see the effects of Stephen Harper's failed economic policies. He suggests that across the board corporate tax cuts, essentially corporate giveaways with no strings attached, are the ways that you produce jobs. But let's look at the facts and at the reality of the situation. Since this money for nothing scheme was introduced a number of years ago, 600,000 good family supporting jobs, the jobs of the middle class, have disappeared. And many of them disappeared from communities like Oshawa. And we've seen the devastating impacts of those job losses, whether it's on community organizations who used to rely on the donations from the middle-class workers, or whether it's the churches and religious institutions, the United Way drives. People are still generous as they can possibly be, but they haven't got the revenue in their own personal lives to be able to contribute the way they once did. And look at the retirees really struggling to get by. But under his plan, big businesses that cut their workforce get the same tax breaks as those that might be creating jobs. I mean, how does that make any sense? In fact, worse, companies that ship jobs overseas but keep their head operations here so they can get the benefit of the tax cut, they get the benefit of having low-paid workers without good working conditions and health and safety and pension and health care and everything else, while at the same time getting Stephen Harper's tax benefits right here at home. And that's wrong. Let's take the example of Electrolux. I can give you many examples, but let's look at Electrolux. A highly profitable company was perfectly happy to take Stephen Harper's corporate tax giveaway And then it announced they were shipping 1,300 jobs, good Canadian manufacturing jobs, to Memphis, Tennessee. Now that makes no sense. Why are we giving away our tax dollars to companies that would do something like that? That's got to stop. You Democrats say, you ship jobs away from Canada, you don't get tax breaks from Canadians. Prenons l'exemple d'Electrolux, une compagnie au Québec qui fait beaucoup de profit. Il a profité des réductions d'impôts de Stephen Harper pour ensuite annoncer qu'elle allait transférer 1300 emplois canadiens à Memphis, Tennessee. Inadmissible. Companies that ship jobs to the U.S. or overseas. I'll target those investments to create jobs right here in Canada. Woo! I'm going to reward the job creators, because they're the ones that are helping build our economy, and here's how. First, I'll give a boost to the sector that creates nearly half of all jobs in Canada, small businesses. My plan will cut the small business tax rate from 11% to 9%, but billions of dollars. And third, I'll reinvest some of those funds in smarter targeted initiatives in the corporate sector, but that will actually create jobs. I'll introduce a new job creation tax credit. I will also extend the accelerated capital cost allowance for the next 4 years. This is going to encourage companies to invest in the machinery and the equipment that is vital to strengthening the Canadian manufacturing sector and improve the way in which we compete and produce our products. I'm going to ensure also that the Canadian corporate tax rate always contributes to our competitive edge, and so my plan will ensure that the combined federal-provincial corporate tax rate in Canada is always below that of the United States, so that we'll always have that competitive edge. Now, today's announcement is a reasonable, affordable proposal that will have a direct impact on job creation, creating tens of thousands of jobs every year right here in Canada. Unlike Stephen Harper's plan announced yesterday, my plan will help cover more of the employer's costs for each new hire. And as well, it will create an incentive for maintaining these jobs right throughout the economic recovery. In the end, my plan will cost less, create more jobs, allow businesses to invest in machinery and equipment, and ensure that Canada remains competitive. Mon plan va coûter moins cher, créer plus d'emplois